Welcome back, episode 2, Superficial Intelligence, the long-awaited, highly anticipated. But what's up, Depo? How you doing?
Good. How about you, Phil?
I'm doing all right. You know, it's like we're getting close to a break, so you know, it's like things are never really bad then.
Yeah, we're close to the holidays, and we're all going to be on holiday break here. Hence why ugly sweater, holiday sweater, not ugly sweater.
That's supposed to be ugly. I thought that was like the most stylish thing I've ever really seen you wear. But
actually, this is a long-lost archived sweater that was found here on PTS property, and long time ago, I was dared to wear it once, and you know me, challenge accepted. So wore it.
So they gifted it to you?
I don't know if it was gifted to me. I think it was nobody else was willing. So
nobody came knocking down your door like, what happened to my sweater?
No.
Yeah.
No. So
lucky you.
This is our second episode.
Yes.
So second episode, first episode being the introductory episode was quite extensively long.
Yeah, we learned some lessons on that one.
Yeah.
Like don't have an hour-long podcast.
Yeah, especially when you intended to have it as 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's like 3 episodes in one. Yeah, no, it was, so this one will be shorter. We have a timer. You can't see it right now, but we can, and that's the important thing.
We're going to cut ourselves off no matter what. In mid-sentence,
That's
we'll
right.
cut ourselves off. So
that's right. 20
important.
on the button.
So we're going to have a lot of fun this session just because it's going to be very casual in nature once again. Talking about a subject near and dear to all of us educators, because the reason why we became educators was the great influence of
Television and movies.
And,
yeah.
and those educators that taught and inspired us to become educators or not educate, or what not to do, the what not to do's in education.
Heck yeah, I mean, I grew up in the 80s, man. I spent my whole life on the couch. You know, I didn't get up for a whole decade to go to the bathroom, eat, and they made me go to school, so that's it. And then I became a teacher. It's like fate's cruel sense of humor.
So you are going to start off with one of your first, maybe?
Yeah, okay, so like some of the best teachers of all time, you know, it's like, yeah, they're fictional characters, but I think that there's qualities that, you know, that we like. All right, so my favorite is Dewey Finn from from School of Rock.
Yeah, but you're biased because you're a rock and roll guy.
Well, that's true.
And your love for music and rock and roll, which I'm a music guy too. Obviously, I was a band director for how many years?
I don't see anything wrong with some project-based learning.
Correct.
That had, it was an authentic task with the Battle of the Bands.
Correct.
Sure, maybe there were some permission forms, not T's not crossed, I's not dotted.
And not teaching the curriculum he was supposed to be teaching.
That too. Okay, so there's a few things that maybe needs improvement, I guess, if we're going to put them on the rubric.
Correct.
I don't know. But I thought, you know, as far as being transformational, I mean, he had these kids that were, I mean, let's face it, they were kind of stuck up.
Yep.
And so he kind of loosened them up, allowed them to kind of discover more about who they are. I feel like that's something as teachers we're supposed to do.
And they moved the kids definitely up the Sammer model. I mean, when you think about it, from going from, and not even not technology, and like once again, we're talking about how we're not always, you know, when we think of innovative learning coaches, a lot of people automatically attach technology to it, is that we're not talking technology, we're talking innovation and being an innovative teacher. His actions were very innovative. I mean, to have a project-based learning environment where students' skill sets and passions and DOK levels, depth of knowledge of being analytical and creative and all those big, what we call catchwords that are exciting in education is so natural in the activity they were doing.
He even did, if you noticed, he even had like that remediation one-on-one conference with the keyboard player. I'm not cool enough, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, had that conversation, that relationship was there. I mean, relationship building was there.
Correct.
You know, once he got past the day where his feet were up on the desk and he's like, you know, I have a hangover. No, that means I was drunk yesterday. You know, once he got past that and he's like, oh yeah, you guys can. Now, granted, it was completely self-serving, so that part, you know, is like, you know, exploiting kids' talents for a personal gain. So obviously, that's not something we condone. But it sure as heck made a good movie.
Absolutely, and we'll tie right into mine. That was like my movie that probably was the most cliche movie of all cliche movies. And if you talk to anybody that teaches music, we mock this movie. But when you really dig into it, and especially when you think Richard Dreyfuss of all people.
Yes.
Okay. The guy that did Jaws, and many other famous movies did Mr. Holland's Opus.
Yeah.
And I remember when that movie came out in college, I mean, we mocked it. Because first of all, just so you know, everybody, if you learn conducting, professional conducting, you are not allowed to conduct with your left hand. You cannot hold a baton with your left hand. Yeah, that is actually a big no-no. But Richard Dreyfuss is a lefty. And so he
Wow.
conducted with left. So the first thing we mocked was him conducting with his left hand.
Okay, so he's a southpaw. I get that, but why is that against like?
It's
the
just
rules?
like a norm. It's one of those rules. So we even in college we had some lefties who had to learn to make their right hand dominant for playing. Well, it's just like match grip and traditional grip
yeah,
and
that's
drumming.
true.
So when you think about it, left hand carries that hand that way. So
Yeah.
for all you music people out there, you understand what we're talking
Wow.
about. For you non-music people, we've already
When
lost
I
it.
fake conduct, I'm even faking it wrong.
Yeah, so what inspired me in that movie, and there were some inspirational moments, was the fact that you had a gentleman who really, really did not want to teach, and I really wanted to teach, but he didn't want to teach at first. He was a professional, starving musician, as they call it, who went into education, and he definitely was not a person who found joy in it, and was definitely called on the carpet for it by school administrators, and then started to really get into it, and then you literally get to that point as an educator where it becomes your passion. The kids become your passion, and then it becomes you. It becomes your life. And for all of you non-educators out there that don't realize this, what we do and what we do with kids is, as educators and the interactions, becomes our lives. It's our part of our identity of who we are, and so. In Mr. Holland's Opus, I think that was it was a great study on that, and it was a good study on life balance because teachers struggle sometimes with life balance. We go home every night and we work on grading all night long or designing new lessons all night long and those type of things, and so that's what that movie I give a lot of credit to
man.
it for.
You're right. Like there are so many key moments in that movie. It's like hard to pick any. Like the ones that I thought were just completely very honest, where I feel like they just had to have had teacher input for some of these. Like when he's having that argument with his wife and about how you give all your time to these kids, but you don't have time for your son. And, not that we all have the shouting argument, but I mean there is that pull of, oh my gosh, it's like so invested in the lives of these kids. Another one for me was when he was talking with the football coach about that player that he wanted to teach he wanted him to teach to drum in the marching band, and the kid can't learn. He's like, well, then you're a lousy teacher. It's like, okay, harsh, but at the same time, it was like, yeah, there's a lot of times where we can, as teachers, be like, well, you know what, I've done everything I can do, so it's on them, and we kind of throw them under the bus, and it's easy to do.
And I think that's one of the things that we, as teachers, I won't say struggle with, but we work with is the fact that we do have students of all learning levels.
Yeah.
And sometimes those students, just because that kid didn't get the A, but we've really given them moments to grow and find growth, and constantly working towards them getting towards mastery. That's an achievement. I know for a fact that I have brilliant friends of mine who are electrical engineers and a buddy of mine that's a mechanical engineer, and there were some courses in high school where he was a C/D student, sometimes D student, in those areas that he struggled with. So when he had those phenomenal teachers, by the way, Mrs. Guy and Olivier out there, who was an English teacher back in my old high school in Chicago, who inspired, he never got an A in the class, but he got a B, and that was through inspiration and hard work, and that's one of the great talents of teachers is motivating students is part of the process. It's not so much teaching content, which is important, but also motivating kids and inspiring kids.
Yeah, for sure. Other ones that I thought, honorable mentions maybe that I wasn't necessarily going to talk about unless you wanted to, but that I thought were all, Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World.
Yep.
Just the holding accountable and just, he told it like it was, but at the same time, he's totally invested. I think we talked about before we started taping, I don't think either one of us really watched Welcome Back, Kotter, but obviously he was good.
Yeah, especially he worked with the kids that were struggling.
Yeah.
The kids that were struggling that I hate to say most other teachers wouldn't want to work with. And so it showed that relationship, that dichotomy of relationship and being able to work with, inspire, and be that parental figure that some of those kids don't have, and that's so important. Don't Laugh, a movie that I really like, and everybody laughs at me when
I'm already laughing inside.
I forgot his last name, Kevin.
Bacon?
No, not Kevin Bacon. The movie Here Comes the Boom. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't even know that movie well enough to laugh at you.
Okay. So I'm trying to think of what other movies. He was in Grown Ups. Kevin.
Oh, Kevin. No, not Kevin Hart.
No.
Kevin James.
Yeah, Kevin James.
Okay, yeah.
So you'll need to watch a movie called Here Comes the Boom.
Okay.
So it's about a teacher who's in a school district that's struggling with financial issues, which happens to a lot of us, and they decided to cut back on the music program, which it was a popular thing to do back in the 80s and 90s, was right away look at your related arts programs and cut. And I'm so excited about Portage Township Schools, and we're from Portage Township Schools for anybody not within our district and know us. We have a phenomenal related arts program. Our arts program's here, and it's very, very well supported. Our administrators here see the real value in what we do with the related arts. But Here Comes the Boom sees that. Kevin, as the teacher who's teaching biology, sees the issue of the music program being cut. Henry Winkler was the music teacher, the orchestra director. And so Kevin, did I say? No, okay, yeah. Kevin actually was a former wrestler who then goes into MMA fighting professionally to save the program by doing these fighting bouts.
Nice.
And of course, he's real awful at first and really gets beaten upon, and he gets better and better, and then he gets actually asked to be at a full UFC fight in Vegas. And, obviously everybody's like, you're not going to win it. And his struggles through it actually inspires the kids, the students, and then he winds up winning this UFC fight, which was so not going to happen.
Yeah.
But, of course, it's a movie, but it's a great movie.
That's the part where he doesn't go back to teaching, right? He's like, what? I'm an MMA star? What?
Yeah, and so it's a really good movie. It's cheesy, but I really enjoy it just because it really shows the passion of teachers and how when they're passionate about something and they're really invested and the kids see that, the kids are vested. And they become passionate about it.
Sure. Your phone went into sleep mode, by the way. I wonder where we're at on
I'm going to go out of screen real quick and check on it. So,
all right.
So we can see where we're at minutes-wise. I don't think we're there yet.
We're probably like 45 minutes in.
No, we're only at 13 minutes.
Hey,
13
all right.
minutes,
So we're still in good
I'll
shape.
bump it every once in a while.
I don't know, there's a lot of good ones. One of the ones that I saw, I don't remember the name of Robin Williams' character, but, in Dead Poets Society, one of the ones that I would always show, so taught fifth grade, and one of the things that we had to do in reading was teaching them theme, the lesson of a story. So a few things. I mean, I would play theme songs, to different shows and say, okay, what's the lesson? But the other thing that I would do is I would show them that clip from Dead Poets Society where they're out in the courtyard, and there are those guys walking in the circle, and then eventually they fall into that lockstep, and then the people that aren't in that circle walking are the ones that are starting to clap, like right in time. And then at the end, when they're processing it, which I think is another great part about his character, is like, it's not just the learning experience, but it's also the processing of it. And how he said, so some of you might be looking at that saying, they all, they kind of lost their identity, or they weren't being, unique because they all stepped together. But ask yourself the reason, why were you clapping? Like the conformity. That's
Correct.
the word I couldn't.
And I think that movie is a great movie. And if you're an educator who has not seen that movie, you need to, like yesterday. Is it shows what passionate education can do in a classroom. It also is a good cautionary tale in regards to. it's really important for teachers to take calculated risks in the classroom and stretch kids' thinking and try to stretch their minds. But it does dive into some of those struggles that happen with that in regards to meeting the curriculum needs, meeting the rules. Because this is in that movie, it's a very tight-niched academy that these students are with very strict rules. And obviously, Robin Williams' character stretches those rules greatly in that struggle. But even in any format, even in public school education or anywhere, there's still how do you stretch students' minds and take good calculated educational risks that are obviously within the rules, but at the same time they're ones that allow students to explore learning, be creative, analytical, and that's important. I think we do a lot of, as we call, drill and kill, but to get students to really think outside the box, stretch their mind is also important also.
And I think that gets back to innovation, really, when you're talking about the calculated risks. We're looking at the...
Sorry, I'm looking at Face ID right now because that's the only way I can get in my phone.
Right now I'm hijacking Depo's code.
There we go, and you can't get in my...
He didn't even get it right.
There you go.
But anyway, but I think that gets back to innovation, taking calculated risks, trying things in a new way, a different way, but having a rationale behind it, and I agree with you in the cautionary tale part of Dead Poet Society because there was so much of that, like bucking the system, and I think while it is important to say, okay, you don't sacrifice your identity, don't conform blindly just because, but also I feel like it also went a little bit too far in saying, pretty much just buck the system, and you're not acknowledging the fact that when they do go forward in their lives into adulthood and into the workforce and so on, I mean, there is a construct that you do need to operate within.
Absolutely.
And be able to, what word am I looking for? Thrive in that environment.
Absolutely. And that once again, that movie will stand the test of time. It'll definitely stand the test of time just because it's so powerful in its statement of inspiring, but with, like you said, the challenges of some, I won't say what not to do, but some, as I said, a cautionary tale of those type of things.
You got any more teachers that come to your mind?
Oh, wow. Movies or TV shows. I you know what? Don't laugh.
Okay.
And I'm gonna.
There's a lot of don't laughs in here.
I know. Anybody in my generation, or you're old enough. I mean, the principle of Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, Mr. Belding.
Mr. Belding.
Yeah.
Correct. You know what? The reason why I say he was awesome was a little too much so. I mean, he was always involved with the kids. Always. I mean, they would go to the soda shop. What was that?
I want to say Peach, but that was 90210.
That was 90210. Whatever the name was. And then, he would show up, and that kind of stuff. And then, it would be follow-up to an incident that happened at school.
But is that cool, or is that kind of, creepy?
Like I said, what makes it neat is the sketch of being a vested part of students' lives.
Yeah, I hear you there.
Within normal
I think his what not to do was the empty threats. Because he was always kind of like, oh, you're going to do this and you'll never. And then by the end, Zach
they're
was
always let off the hooks. Yeah. So, how about you?
Well, you can tell by my shirt, one of my favorite movies is Back to the Future, but
Mr. Strickland.
Yeah, Mr. Strickland.
Mr. Strickland is what not to do.
Yeah, exactly.
What not to do.
That was an example of somebody who truly was out to get people.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't just that, hey, I'm going to have these strong expectations, and then if that instills some healthy fear, great. No, he was not at all about healthy fear. It was like, I want unhealthy fear. I want and then in part 2 where he's got the machine gun, blood slackers,
Yeah.
It's like...
Actually, I think he had the shotgun. I think the people that were shooting at his house.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. They had the rapid fire.
You can see how many times I've seen that movie. So yeah.
But yeah, totally what not to do. But he could rock a bow tie.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's that.
And he always takes that very authoritative role, because then you had him as the I don't know what role he was, position in the Navy in Top Gun and Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And once again, he was you're a slacker and
Yeah,
that
the
kind of stuff. But
authoritative.
I think that it's not a bad thing to have a person who holds kids accountable. I mean, it's important. It's important that we as adults are held accountable. But he was definitely the antithesis, would be the right word for it, of what not to do.
Taking vocabulary lessons in this podcast too.
So yeah, because he was just so harsh.
Yeah, that's true. If you could merge, so maybe this is a good note to end on. If you could merge any of the two teachers, like that we've talked about, or even if there's some that we haven't talked about, like to make the perfect combination.
Oh wow, yeah, that's really tough.
Yeah. That's the hard-hitting questions here on superficial intelligence.
I don't have one. I don't have an answer for you.
Oh, it's like that. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm thinking if we combine, I definitely go with Mr. Feeney.
Okay.
Because I feel like he had that authoritative way. You know, he had that ability to hold expectations. With Robin Williams, that self-discovery, but within boundaries.
Within boundaries. Okay, I can agree with that. Just because I've never thought of it, so I'm going to just go with what you said.
All right, cool.
So we are going to wrap things up.
All right, yeah.
We want to wish everybody a super awesome holiday, and hopefully we'll get this produced out before New Year's or something.
Yeah, right.
So you can get this, and here we're saying happy holidays before the holidays are over.
Yeah, exactly.
And the second semester, we'll be trying to put together some more of these. Like I said, these are just fun conversations,
Totally.
little snippets, thoughts, and to see some opportunities for us just to share our thoughts on weird educational trends. We're probably going to have a conversation. We're looking at looking at fair use and copyright, because I know that's a struggle with the internet, and how to tackle that issue a little bit. But we're even, we know quite a bit, but we still want to even hone our tool a little bit of knowing exactly what those rules are, because we don't want to misconstrue anything.
Oh yeah, no.
And be named in a lawsuit or anything like that.
We don't want to be mistaken for any legal advice. I don't think anybody would ever make that mistake with these two. There's us two, but yeah. By the way, if you enjoyed this talk on teachers in the movies and TV shows, go ahead, subscribe, like, share, tweet.
I was going to say, like the students today on the INN network. We have the INN network. Actually, we're in their studio. We're using their studio.
Sweet. Yes.
Is they said smash that like button. So.
Smash.
Yeah, smash. So I'm going to use their terms.
So all these kids are talking about these days.
Yeah. So
I've never heard.
Yeah. So if you hit the Twitter button, and like our podcast and subscribe, that'd be great. And we'll definitely come back to you guys. And once again, hope you have a wonderful holiday.
Cool. All right. Thanks. What he said.